Oh, whew, it's hot. Hi, it's Alexa. This is 52 Weeks, 52 Weeks Live, and today, hi, Santa. Today, hey, baby. Sorry, that sounded strange. I am being joined by the wonderful Mark Sikes. The minute he shows up, I will click on him. Whew, there he is. I feel like I'm answering the door. Go live with Mark Sikes. Whew. Hi, Mommy. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing? I can barely see. There you go.
Is that good?
Hi, yeah, that's great. Happy whatever day this is. Happy 52 weeks.
I think it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. Are you in the Hamptons or where are you?
I stopped by well, actually, I have a very interesting thing to tell you. So I went to a job site yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my first, foray.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty exciting. A little scary, a little stressful, but exciting. But I was alone.
Were you in the city?
I was in Connecticut. So I'm in the city right now with two of my kids, and we're about to drive back to the Hamptons. How are you doing?
It's a crazy time.
Are you at the office, or do you have a home office?
No, we're back in the office, actually. We came back last week as a team. We're all kind of working differently. We're all spaced out, and everyone's wearing masks and washing the hands and taking the temperature in the morning.
Sure.
But we were working, we were working so closely throughout all this, kind of through conference calls and talking, that everyone felt comfortable to kind of come back in. And we're very isolated in our offices, so we're back. And LA's starting to open up more than New York, I think.
Oh, well, yeah. I was just watching Cuomo, and he's like, you are still not in phase one. And I was like, okay. Because it is what it is.
Yeah, every day I say to myself how I think about New Yorkers and that city, and the impact that's happening there is not even close to what we're experiencing. I can't even imagine.
I am not much for prayer, but I find myself being like, God bless all of the people who are struggling, who have lost family.
Totally.
To remember. Back to the more important matters of decorating. We could go down that sad spiral. I want you to tell me how you got started. Now, I know this story, but I think maybe I was listening to you on Paloma's podcast, and I did not realize your entire retail background. So please share it.
So I went to university to study. First started in dentistry, and then I transferred to.
Did you just say dentistry?
Dentistry, yeah. My godfather was a dentist, so I felt like I wanted to be a dentist. I think it was a time, where
I don't think I knew that part.
Yeah, none of us knew exactly who we were, or what we wanted to be, or that generation. But then I changed degrees, and I got a finance degree, and then my parents were living in Nashville. When I got out of college, I moved back to Nashville, and I was kind of thinking, oh God, I got to get a job. And I didn't even apply or look at any finances job, because I just knew that's not what I was meant to do or wanted to do. So I started working at a Banana Republic store at Bellevue Mall, part-time, and was also waiting tables, and starting to work in the store. I mean, I've always loved fashion. I've always loved design. I've always loved interiors. And it just was this moment when I really felt super comfortable in an environment in my own skin, and really enjoying, all that went along with a store, the displays and the merchandising. Right. It just was this thing. And
the experience.
Yeah, or just being around textiles and pretty things, and helping people. And so anyway, long story short, I fast tracked. I mean, I immediately started working full time, and then I started overseeing, from a visual perspective, multiple stores. And then I oversaw districts, and then I oversaw regions. I moved to Atlanta.
How old were you when you started overseeing regions?
I think I was 25.
That's crazy and wonderful.
Well, and then when I was 28, I moved to San Francisco to corporate. And, Banana Republic was owned, or still is owned, by the Gap, and it was the heyday of retail. Mickey Drexler was there.
Sure.
Yeah, the marketing campaigns were unbelievable. The storytelling was second to none. And this whole idea around basic, classic, all American necessity, luxury fashion was something that I felt super connected to. So my time there was priceless from only about not only the experience, but what I learned. I always say you could have all the creative ideas in the world and you can have a vision in the world, but if you don't know how to execute it,
Sure.
you know,
Frequently, that is the case.
it means nothing. So I, owe Banana Republic and Gap to all of my organizational skills and my communication skills, and I think a lot to my marketing skills. I think today design is a lot about marketing and storytelling. But anyway, that's how I started. And then we moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago. I decorated our house. I've always loved interiors. I decorated our house. House Beautiful published it. And it wasn't a situation where I sent pictures in or anything because I wasn't really a designer. I had started the blog at the same time, actually. Right before that, actually.
Yeah, and I think many of us, your audience, first got to know you through your blog.
Yeah, and that's that's where it was a really an amazing. Blogs were just kind of several people had already started, but I was like 3 years after the wave. But I really met these amazing people, and we shared like similar thoughts and experiences and our vision, all of our visions of beauty, and that was a real door opener for sure. And I think the blog was successful because it was a very concise story around people, places, and things, and really around beauty. And at the time, none of this was conscious. This was just like, oh, I want to like do something creative and something for myself and to connect with other people. And that just kind of opened the doors to all of these things. The House Beautiful thing helped a lot. So immediately when the House Beautiful was published, because of the blog, people knew how to get in touch with me. So I started getting all these client referrals. So my partner, being the most supportive person in the world, was like, yeah, let's just do it. So, 10 years later, here we are. It's like.
And what does he do?
Well, Michael was a retail executive for years. So he was president of, I met him at the Gap and Banana. He was president of Gap and president of
Gap.
big job at Banana Republic. And then when we moved to LA, he was the president of Lucky Brand Jeans. So now he works with me. So we're, he helps with all of the strategy stuff and all of the collaborations and a lot with marketing, actually.
Bunny, who I know is a dear friend of yours as well,
Yeah.
Bunny and I have frequently said to each other that if people are coming to interview with us and they're coming out of school and they have no actual work product, we, and there's a point to this diversion, we would love it if they would come in with pictures of interiors that they love. So for example, Grousset, or for example, La Fiorentina. And not just come in and show what they like, but be able to talk about what they like. And I think in some respects, your blog is a perfect example of telegraphing. It telegraphed your point of view. So that added to probably that your house.
Yeah,
Explains the philosophy. It explains, not just the quote unquote brand, but really what gets you going and what you admire. And I think that's a huge thing.
I think the authenticity of it is what's really powerful, is because the things, I liked as a child, I mean, I say this all the time, but, we loved Sunday afternoons with my grandparents driving around and looking at all the big white houses in the neighborhoods and, the big green lawns. And I've always had this like love of beauty. And, I remember the Estee Lauder campaigns when I was growing up. They were looking at the way those were like styled. And it wasn't about the fragrance.
Right.
Really
and still,
girl.
To this day, you see a Gucci ad and it's got wonderful upholstery in it.
Yeah. It was about the interior, and no one did it better than Victor Skrybnevsky. And, all that was I was just very allured by all that. Well, I still love those things today, and I love those things when I started my blog. So I think there's an authenticity. I think it's very easy to tell the story when you're passionate about it and that you love it. So I think
it's sometimes hard to figure out what it is that you're passionate about and you love, because you can love a lot. There's a lot.
Figured out what I was like.
To come down and really focus on it is wonderful.
Yeah, well, I think those are the years the Gap and Banana taught me. I think it's about consistency. I think it's about staying on point. I think obviously with Instagram and with all these different things that are in the world today, it's easy to get sidetracked for people. Like you think you want to show something you think people want to see versus staying true to yourself. I think I've always stayed super true to myself, and hard work is probably the most important key. But the doors have opened up, like I think mostly because of the blog and because of these wonderful relations. You mentioned Bunny Williams. Oh my God, so many wonderful times in Punta Cana sitting and talking about amazing, just talking about how kind she was to me about like the design world and opening so many doors up of people, resources. And, I always love to hear her somehow slaps me on the wrist, but also is encouraging when she says, you don't look at pictures, go out and shop. And of course I do go out and shop all the time. But, I love that how much she knows, but I also love that she's also got one foot in this new experience and is wanting to learn herself and around, I think it's just fascinating that she's doing Instagram Live. I mean, I just think she's just the most amazing person.
Yeah, she's evergreen. She is a constant inspiration. But I mean, it's not like she's 100 years old. So,
no, I know. But,
thank heavens for
when you've had those experiences that she's had and the life that she's had. Sometimes
right, she could just say, "I'm over it," but she's
screw everyone. I know what I'm doing, but she's not. She's really, really humble and kind and wonderful.
Yeah. So tell me, 52 weeks. You have to say you picked my father for the city, which I thank you, and then you picked Mongiardino, and then Roderick Cameron for the beach house. What would the beach house like? Tell me some of the. Well, do you have kind of a beach house? You're not on the beach, but you're
no, we're not on the beach. But if I had a beach house, I feel like it would be a lot of like wicker and white and plaster and more minimal maybe.
Do you still have your wicker collection at Sewn?
I do. Yeah,
so everybody should know this if you don't know this. He has a wonderful collection of wicker furniture at Sewn, and I love that collection. And I remember when you did that Kips Bay with the sort of Mongiardino-esque,
the dining room,
the red, blue, and white, and the check, and that was a great room. If I can figure out one of these days how to like splice images into these talks, I will put it in. But
that was a really crazy experience, that whole Kips Bay thing, being
also because you're in California. You actually should tell us about what it was, because I remember talking to you right before and being like, oh, Freddie Victoria, Objet Plus, like rattling off
all the resources
you needed to go to. But what's it like doing a show house of that scale by remote control? I mean, I get that it's like doing an out-of-town client, but it's also not.
Well, the time frame is intense.
Yeah.
I had worked on a project in New York a little bit before that, so I had a little bit of experience of resources in New York. But like you, Bunny, and Markham and Miles were so helpful with contacts and resources. I mean, it was super scary. I mean, well, actually, there was a naivety to it at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But sure, like, oh yeah, great dining room. Oh, great! How wonderful is this? And then you start understanding. Well, of course, I understood the magnitude of Kips Bay because I, had appreciated so many rooms in the past, and of course, the charity and all the rooms, the rooms,
the community.
It's huge. Yeah, like I mean, I knew it was a really amazing thing, but you do go into things with a lot of enthusiasm and a little bit of naivety. I just remember this moment after everything had been kind of purchased and in motion.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, freak out moment. Oh my God, it's gonna be red. It's gonna be like too busy, thing. But being a part of that and like seeing that come to life and then having that experience with people, coming in and, connecting with the work and like having it be such for a great organization, I think is one of the
it's kind of like designer camp.
Yeah, you
get to meet all the decorators and get to know them, and you're all like the class of.
Yeah, and Alessandra Branco was, well, I have to give a lot of this to Bunny because she was so helpful, but, Alessandra Branco was in the living room. Mm-hmm. So it was Alessandra Branca, it was me, and it was the girls from Tilton Fenwick. We were all on the same floor, and literally we spent every day together. It was like family. Alessandra Branca truly became like my mother, and still has continued that that relationship. But it's a bonding like you'll never have. And then, when I did it with you a few years later, and that was another amazing bonding experience in that house with those people. And I just think it's such a great organization, and it's a thrill to be a part of the legacy of it. So,
How many show houses have you done?
I've done 2 Kips Bay. I did the Southern Living Show House in Birmingham, Alabama. I did Greystone Mansion here in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills, and then I did the whole Coastal Living Show House in Newport, Rhode Island.
You did a whole house.
Yeah, I would never recommend that to anyone. That was a really...
May I be so bold and so vulgar to ask, do you have to pay for it?
No, we were able. The thing about Coastal Living and some of those publications is they have all. Well, that was one of the challenging.
And you may tell me to shut up if I.
No. You have all these vendors that you get to pick from that advertise in their magazine.
Okay.
So it might not be exactly what you would normally pick out. So there's a little bit of a interesting dynamic
problem solving.
Well, finding like the best that you can find, and and it's a wholly different experience. Thank God for my local workrooms here in LA who helped with a lot of the window treatments and all the people that did the wall coverings and stuff. But you have to kind of pick from their vendors for the furnishings. But it's a growing experience, a learning experience. I love it. I love doing a show house. I mean, I
think people are scared of it, but I really think it's such a huge thing for one's career. Besides the obvious, which is doing good, supporting the charity that you're supporting, and for me, Kips Bay is obviously extremely dear to my heart. But supporting each other in the design community, because we all rally around each other. But I think the idea of doing it and going for it, you have to force yourself to be inspired. And I know your rooms well, and they're never phoned in. And I feel like that's just the way it's got to be. If you do a show house, you've got to swing for the fences. Why I'm using a sports metaphor, I'm not sure.
Well, you definitely have to take risks and get out of your comfort zone. And I do think there's, it's really great to get published in magazines, but people don't really experience the details. So unless you have a client, and unless you have, we have a visitor, unless you have a client, and they have dinner parties or whatever, people don't really get to experience your work as much.
Yeah.
So a show house is an amazing opportunity for people to see the details, the contrast welts and the trims and the different layers of the different fabrics and the layers of the beautiful antiques. I mean, I'll never forget going into Carlton Hobbs and looking at all those antiques and being literally having a spiritual out-of-body experience, and then being able to put some of those things in my room. I mean, that's rare, to be able to have that experience. And now we've been fortunate enough to have some clients get some things from them. But, all of it was so new. And so
the year we did it together, my husband walked into my room and he was like, "Oh, I love this secretary. We should get it." And I was like, "Well, it's $75,000." I was like, I think that's a darling.
I know. I love to talk about my $1 million rooms, because it's it feels like that's what they do cost, but
they are fantasy. Nobody lives in them. They're there to entertain, and your retail background must make it, I would assume, so much easier. You got this, merchandising and.
I don't know. I think it's I think it's taking some risks, but I also think it's staying true to yourself and just doing what you love, because there's so many things that you can allow to get in your head. And I would recommend for every young designer to do it, and to the experience you have not only participating in something that's so amazing for the design world or for a great organization, but the relationships that you build and the connections that you make, and the being a part of that community, or feeling a part of that community, I think is really great. And so
I think in order of importance, am I shouting? I kind of feel like I'm shouting in my iPad.
Your hair looks good too. How have you been getting your hair done?
I just spent hours doing it. And I just had 2 work calls from my bathtub. FaceTimes.
You look great. You look very maintained.
With my colleagues, and one of the women I had a FaceTime with, she said, She's like, not the weirdest call I've had from you, because she could see that it was my tub and that I was in the bath. And so then I started doing this, like this is the view frame. I started going like, and disappearing and then popping up and like
If
acting
it got
like
you to
a
drop your
shark.
phone, you would be on. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Well, I guess you wouldn't be
Yeah.
on a computer from a phone, but
And then my daughter got into my bathroom and was taking a bath. I was like, get out! I'm doing 52 weeks. I need my eyebrow pencil. She went shrieking out.
That's fun.
Anyway, I don't mean to be screaming at you. So in order of magnitude, if you have, this is all imagining that the world rights itself and designers are able to go out. I mean, everybody's able to go out, but I would say to designers with extra cash, your first investment has to be in photography and then a show house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
I do agree, for sure. Yeah, I think one thing we do all the time, which I think has been super helpful, is we photograph all of our projects right during the install, and I think that's a super.
Do you do
important.
it in-house or do you get a professional photographer?
Well, this is a fun story. So when House Beautiful photographed
I love fun stories.
when House Beautiful photographed our house 10 years ago, the photographer that came hired by House Beautiful was Amy Noonsinger. She's based here in Los Angeles.
Who did your headshot and one of your interiors.
And she's done everything.
As I was typing up the credits yesterday.
Yeah, I've never had anyone else shoot any projects of mine. So, I think same thing. Some magazines but she shoots everything for me, and she even shot like the show houses. She shoots all of our marketing campaigns. I feel like she's such an intricate part about our vision, and she really understands it. So,
when you say marketing campaigns, what specifically are you referring to?
Well, like when we do collaborations, she does all the photography for those, and she did all of our MDS stripes.
Do you require that?
No, but my high recommendation is when even a magazine wants to publish something, I ask if she could photograph them. Most of the time today, they're picking up images. So,
right.
Brand is about to shoot another thing for us, and they're going to use a lot of Amy's other images, but they're going to come and like shoot some layers and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's one thing that we did and have done consistently, and I think it's really paid off. So we have beautiful images, and she shot the Stone campaign for us. She shot anything with Schumacher. She even did the
tell me what. Yeah, give me all your stuff. Give me all your lines.
Well, we have a new furniture collection with Chaddock that I'm super, super proud about.
Is it very? I mean, different, but spirit of Henredon?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same spirit. I mean, I think it's really all American, but I think the thing about all American furniture is it is influenced by everything else. So there's English, there's English influence.
Mixability, sure.
Yeah, English influences, French influences, neoclassical, Anglo-Indian. There's just these influences, which I think when you combine it all together is what makes it feel very all-American. There's lots of beautiful textures, rattan and cane, and then we collaborated with Farrow & Ball, which was amazing because I'm super into painted furniture right now, and painted furniture that is in colors. So Farrow & Ball collaborated with us on a palette, and that's offered through Chaddock. Like you can get a Farrow & Ball paint finish, a couple different finishes. But it's been super well received, and it's super beautiful. I'm doing a project in Palm Beach, and literally we spec'd 32 pieces from the collection, which was like, I've never done that before, and it just because it works. It just works,
Yeah.
And
I mean, why do it? Why do it if you couldn't at least philosophically use it all the time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, I think the problem with Henredon is you couldn't get it, but the good news with Chaddock is you can get it. But we learned from there's so many, this was so much easier the second time around, and doing it. I had a furniture collection, obviously, with Henredon before, and the people at Chaddock is family owned. They're based in California. I mean, they're based in Carolinas. They have been around the block. They really understand furniture. They're not being dictated by a finance company or something. So they were a dream to work with.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how wonderful experience it is because of their expertise and their craftsmanship and their knowledge.
Is that nice?
So
just
nice.
To just be so proud of your partners, and
it's so rare. I mean, it was like, they just really, they were little fundamental things. honesty and just, being straightforward and direct and, understanding, letting me kind of tell my own story. They really took their hands off with
Hands
the
off, yeah.
marketing. And
They took off the bumpers.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a great experience, and we couldn't be more proud of how it turned out. So that's the newest thing.
How big is your office, by the way?
Well, it's 2 buildings. It's the whole back.
No, I mean people.
Humans. Oh, we have 10 people?
10 people, okay.
Yep. So we have our Chaddock line, and then we have our Hudson Valley lighting collection that came out last year, and we're about to launch a new one, a second collection.
Additions, yeah.
And then we're launching a new outdoor collection with Troy, which is more Mediterranean, irony kind of stuff. Schumacher, we're working on our 3rd collection. It's going to be more indoor-outdoor, which will be fun because we, kind of California indoor-outdoor experience, so that makes sense. We have our Stone Wicker collection. It's called the Lily collection after our dog. We have an Annie Selke bedding and rug collection, which is great, and we're doing more. Are
those the juries?
No, that's with Merida. These are the ones we have with Dash and Albert, more like cotton rugs. The rugs are great.
Right.
They do the best for kitchen runners and bathroom runners and things like that. So we're working on our second thing with them. And then we have a couple, I can't really say anything about it yet. There's 2 big things that will be happening soon that I'm like dying over. Yeah. I'll tell you when I see it. Yeah.
I'm hanging up the phone calling.
Yeah, I just think, and that's the greatest thing too about this is just the doors that open up, like things you never. I remember like looking at magazines and like, thinking about like, seeing like your dad's work or, Bunny's work or, Jeffrey Bill Huber's work, your work, like everyone's work, and like just being so inspired by just the beauty, and then to be able to now have these experiences of connecting not only with those people, but with some of these brands that I loved, that I really loved. So these next 2 things are pretty, I think, like a dream, fantastic. So I just think it's amazing.
So I have another question, observation leading to, I hope, thoughts of great depth and magnitude. We all know of your fondness for nostalgia, or rather your nostalgia, not fondness for, of a sort of love of Camelot or of that domestic idea, whether it's the Kennedys or not. I would love. Oh, somebody wants to know the color of my lipstick.
And it's not too pink or red.
Thank you. It is. I don't think I can get it anymore because I've tried. It is 763 Dior.
I love that you have. I love that you have it right there.
Oh yeah, of course I have it right here. Yeah.
Really.
So anyway, I'm glad we could have a moment to just refresh the lipstick. Is that a yearning? Is that a yearning for your childhood, or for just like the life that you're trying to lead? What's that about? Because I have my issues with nostalgia too, and I love it. It's kind of like a a point. Oh my God! And with that, he left. Was it something I said? Hey, Mark, come back. I do not think. Oh no, yeah, he just fell off the line, guys. Stick with me. He's going to come back, and if he doesn't come back, there he is. View, Mark, add. Okay, he's coming, guys. So yeah, back to Dior Addict. If you'd like to hire me, Dior.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was like, wow, was it something I said? You did think it was too pink? Like, I've had it.
No. I don't know what happened. Sometimes our internet.
So yeah, somebody said you didn't like the question. The nostalgia and inspiration from the past, and tell me about it.
Well, I mean, I think that there's
or hang up on me.
No, there's these kind of amazing figures in history that have a lot of style, and it might not be, I always think about like Jackie Kennedy or Babe Paley or Marilyn Yali or CZ Gass. They were never probably the most beautiful women in the room, but they had amazing style and, and homes and, just some depth to them, you know. And I think that, you know, not I mean, I
Well,
don't know them, of course.
culture,
Yeah,
experience,
just, you know,
travels.
language, travel, experience, you know. And what Jackie Kennedy did for the White House was absolutely unbelievable, and how she's, you know, lived her life. I think they're just like that American thing.
You know, she was the editor of my father's second book.
She was. That's so cool.
Yeah,
No,
she was his editor.
and I think, you know, she had her job, she had her kids, she definitely, you know,
She was a real person.
She was a real person, but I also feel like, you know, she had real style, and I think that there's a lot of people. There's not as much style today as there was in the past. I just always look to the past. I think there are some people today that do have it, but, you know, it's not like it used to be, you know, like. Anyway, so that's the fascination, is just really more about that. Just kind of, I want younger people in my office who are 25 who might not know who these people are. I want them to like know who these people are and what they mean. And again,
or at the very least, their houses, or their clothes.
I mean, like Lee Radswell's homes were some of the most beautiful homes ever that Renzo did. You know, like unbelievable. Like, you know, I just love all that stuff.
She was a dear friend of the family. She's amazing.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, there's just that I've always loved them as a child and studied all that, all their homes, and I love fashion. You know,
well, I think we all need to know those houses. I mean, they're important houses to know. They were sort of the apogee of for at least the Americans, American ambition, and for the Europeans, for, you know, jet set is diminishes what they were. They were, you know, cultural touchstones.
Totally. I believe that. And I think
they're truly, timeless and memorable.
And we're living in a day of age where I think that there's not a lot of people to look up to sometimes that have that types of qualities, or that kind of timeless quality, or that restraint. You know, it's the world of the Kardashian, it's the world of the Trump.
Yeah, but thank God we have people like Bunny.
Yeah. But, you know, like, you know, it just, you know, there's just these people that lit up rooms and that are still alive. You're like Princess Diana, I think, is just one of these characters where, you know, you just see pictures of her and she still kind of glows. You know, there's these people that have that magic.
Magicism.
You know? So anyway, I like celebrating that. And
do you live ambitiously? I mean, your house is gorgeous.
I live a very boring life, actually. I mean,
but I mean, in terms of, I think my apartment is very fancy considering me, that I live in it, you know?
Yeah. Our home, especially over the last few months, has been more of a sanctuary than ever. It's casual, though. You know, our house there's nothing fancy about it. I mean, the doors are always open, and there's a really beautiful garden that we love.
Well, if I were at Vaux-le-Vicomte, the doors would always be open.
But, you know, I don't have a very, you know, I like very simple food. I go to the same restaurants. I have a routine. You know, we're not people that, we love to travel, but we're not people that socialize a lot. You know, I'm really kind of.
What's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
Okay.
That's supposedly balanced. So I don't have, you know, I don't have this ambition to be to have that much more.
I don't mean like conquering the world and going out to socially. I just mean decoratively.
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, I think it's very important. I'd say when I go do talks, I say, you know, look at children at the 4 and 5 and 6 year old, look what they gravitate towards, you know, and if they, you know, encourage that with their education, encourage that with your upbringing with them, because they'll be successful. And I think because I was fortunate enough to start working in something that I loved and be able to like understand what seemed like impossible, the impossibilities being able to be achieved. So I think that you know, you asked me in my questionnaire what house that I want to decorate, and I said I want to decorate the White House, and I will decorate the White House someday. So I'm ambitious.
I think, I might have to tie you up and like shove you down the stairs.
So I'm definitely ambitious when it comes to those types of things, things that I want to accomplish and do, and I know that I can, and that are important. So yes, those ways, yes, but I'm just kind of enjoying it all, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been through rough patches.
And it's for people.
And I've been through emotional rough patches in my life where I haven't appreciated as much around me that I like. And now I have this amazing, I just really appreciate.
Do you think that's an age thing? Just
I
living
think,
longer and learning to appreciate
no,
life?
I think it's meditation. I think it's daily walks. I think it's getting really good rest. I think it's creating some boundaries.
I'm like, walks, meditation.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That
wine,
kind of stuff has really
naps.
made a change, like
Well,
finding the
good for
joy,
you.
finding the joy in it, because there are these moments when you're like doing all the things you love, but you hate it.
Yeah, I think that's nothing about the meditation walks, but I couldn't agree more that that you've got to make it fun.
Yeah.
Like if you have, I don't remember who I was talking to, but they were saying, ugh, my clients all want white rooms. But I can go onto Pinterest and find 400 white rooms that I adore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's doable. Make the greatest white room
Like
anybody
David
has ever
Hicks or
seen.
Michael Taylor. Yeah, I can visualize.
I mean, a bazillion. And many less illustrious, people whose names you don't know. You just scroll through Pinterest. You're like, oh, I love it. If you say to yourself, this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever, ever, I'm going to love it, love it, love it. You can really, it teases
Mm-hmm.
the best out of you.
No, I totally agree. I'm one of those people too, like, like if anything goes wrong, like with a client, like something gets applied wrong on a cushion, I can't live, the client won't know, but I can't live with myself unless it's perfect. So like I have this kind of like crazy, like the details are so important to me, and I unfortunately can get completely obsessed with them. So I'm trying to like keep that all super balanced. But I do think ultimately that type of passion for the details is what brings about the road.
The best.
Yeah, the best. And like, just do it the best you can possibly do it. And
I was sitting in our living room growing up one day, and I heard my father was sitting there reading a magazine, and I heard him go like, "Oh," and I said, "What?" He goes, and he shows me the picture. He goes, "A double self welt." Here I thought, he'd also read The Economist. He'd read, he's a voracious reader, and it just tickled my funny bone.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you believe they used a double self welt?" He's like, "Ugh, disgusting."
Speaking of your dad, I don't remember how long ago it was, but it might have been like 30 years ago or over 30 years ago. He was at ADAC. I did a talk, and I'll never forget it. Like I remember listening to him talk. And
why were you there? 30 years ago?
Yeah, because there was a designer in Nashville that I worked for part-time a little bit when I was working at Banana Republic named Landy Gardner, and we went to ADAC for a couple days for something, and there was all these kind of events and different things like that. So I just remember your dad's talk, and I also remember being so taken by his charisma and like down to earthness, but also he was kind of the first to kind of like really be a really amazing marketer, and collaborator with like furniture lines and different things like that. So I just was kind of enticed by that whole rail.
I feel like there's some people for whom it just happens. Like I was talking to John Darien on a 52-week live, and he's just sort of kept his center, and things have come to him. And I think, my father certainly went after things, but I think a lot came to him. And, those of us, like that's wonderful, but you just can't sit around and wait. Like we have to go for them. We have to.
Well, he was one of the
first. Got to do the talks and the show houses.
Yeah, and he opened the doors to all that, right? That stuff wasn't happening back then as much, like, with going out and talking to people and having book signings and socializing.
And he was a great speaker.
Yeah, and then the whole marketing, like his whole hickory chair collection. I mean, that was one of the first. Now there's so many designer collections you can't even.
You can't swing a cat, but happily, I'm happy that you can't, because the whole level of what's available at a variety of price points is fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, and congratulations on your new line. Theodore.
Thank you.
Well, I guess it's been a year now, right? Or a year and a half.
It has yeah. When did it come out? Did
Are
it
you
come out in
going?
the fall?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, you know better than me, but I think it's been a year and a half, maybe, right? It'll be
Yeah,
2 years
and
this
I've
April.
wait till you see the new stuff.
I can't wait.
I'm
So,
just I was reviewing some they're doing, the white wood, the frames, and I'm sure the same is true for you. Um, I just want to buy it all. And
it's a good sign.
that's good. Like, you should want to own the things that, like, you should love it that much.
Yeah.
But it was such a, speaking of emotional ups and downs and gratitude, this is a strange time. And some days you wake up and it just feels like normal. And some days you wake up and it just hits you what's going on. And then to be able to deep dive into just looking at a piece of furniture, just doing something very simple. And it makes you so happy.
Mm-hmm. It's very if you really go out on the streets and you get in your car and you drive around and you look at everyone, well, there's not anyone, but if they do see them, they're in masks, and there's just not a lot of traffic. It's so apocalyptic. It's like unbelievable. It's so surreal. You can't even believe it's real. So we have to kind of escape. Thank God we do work that we can escape from it.
Well,
and then
it's like we have to do both. We must escape, but we must also be aware. Yeah. We must bear witness. We must be aware. We must do our part.
I mean, your children, what do you say to your children? I mean, I think that is such a...
Well, I say, children, we're all going to die. We just might die sooner. No. They know they're lucky to be healthy and that their parents are healthy and their grandmother's healthy. And they know that they're lucky that we have decamped to my mother's house. So, we remind ourselves of our good fortune all the time, because it's so easy to get cranky because we can't see other people or because I'm screaming all the time. So we try to, like, as a mantra, say that. But, so I'm in the city right now. I brought two of the kids. I brought two of them last week when I had to do something, and I brought two of them this week. One of them wasn't allowed to go because he got in trouble last week. So I had to now give him a turn. And this was his first time back. And, they want to sleep in their beds. They want to take a shower here. And the stress of very simple things, doing very simple things, weighs on them. It weighs on me. Just the fact that, we can't
doing it safely.
Yeah. Like, what am I? I'm not sure what the garage people do, because I have to put my car in a garage. Mm-hmm. So that's probably my weakest link, and I worry about them. I mean, they're going into everybody's cars all the time. But, they can't touch the doorknobs. They've got to keep their mask on in the elevator. If anyone's in the elevator, you have to wait. Nobody's in the elevator, though. You have that immediate instinct to leave the building, and then you want to take the mask off. And you're like, oh, no, wait, you've got to keep the mask on. And I, of course, am fogging up my glasses. I can't see anything. I'm being led around like, I had to go to the grocery store with my son to buy ingredients for a school project. And, it's nothing new. I'm not explaining anything that we all haven't gone through. It's just when we leave the city, the weight lifts.
Mm-hmm. Did your mom stay in the city, or is she with you guys?
No, she stayed in the city.
Yeah, I love your mom. Her Instagram is like just genius,
she's
brilliant.
Great, darling. She's listening to you. She's on this.
Oh, I love her. I met her once with you, and I think that she's just fantastic. But I also love that her apartment in New York is just like how it doesn't seem like it's changed over a long time. And I love the timeless quality of the way the design.
If you get it right.
Totally. That bedroom of hers, it's Gracie, right?
Yeah.
With a beautiful, she's wonderful, funny.
And she's got this beautiful white silk canopy bed. There she is. She says, "Love you back." She knows how to live too. I mean, not like that sounds gross, but she knows how to enjoy her beautiful surroundings. And
so, what is her experience like staying in the city? Because I think that would be.
She's bored. She's bored, but she's getting it done. I say to the kids, we don't want to kill a granny.
Yeah. Like getting food and stuff. Most things she gets delivered and things.
No, she goes out gloved and masked. And somebody just said, tell us about your mom's Portland history. I will tell you briefly that my mother was born in Portland, and her grandmother, oh gosh, mommy, you have to come in. Okay, her grandfather was posted as some sort of something to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And so they spent a year in Thailand and came back. And the king of Thailand gave my grandfather an elephant. And he ended up as the first elephant to have a baby in captivity in the United States. It was Rosie the elephant in Portland. Bizarre.
That is bizarre. She's making
an elephant story.
She's making comments. She says,
she thinks he was an OSS guy.
She said it's weird. It's I think she's talking about New York, being in New York.
Yeah.
Okay,
so let's look at some questions for you.
Okay.
Everybody, you must have a Mark Sikes. Can I ask you, is there a Mark Sikes without the D? Is that why you have the D?
Well, my middle name starts with a D.
No, of course, I know that.
So yeah, you're actually right. When I was coming up with our URL and our branding years ago, there was a Louisiana tire salesman that had a website that was Mark Sikes. So
I had to wait 5 years to buy I just out of orneriness refused it. A guy in Chicago who had a food shop just bought my name, and I waited him out.
Good for you. Anyway, all that was very interesting, that whole thing. So yeah, we put the D in, and I'm glad I did, because it's now it's like every time a press thing comes out, it's always the thing people leave out. I'm like, put the D in. But
yeah.
So, I'm named after my grandfather, my grandfather, and my great grandfather. So I'm very proud of that.
That's nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking. People are loving the past more than the present. Hold on. Other Librans are loving you. Everyone thinks you'd make a beautiful White House. Again, I'm going to have to tie you up.
Why don't we do it together? We could be the first joint.
Yes,
partners.
you can take the blue rooms. I'll take the green and the red rooms, and we'll get rid of the yellow. I'm not into yellow at the moment.
Okay, for sure.
God is in the details, guys.
Oh yeah,
Mark, do you ever have trouble deciding on the direction of the room?
No. I always think that there's these moments when you go into a house initially and all of it kind of makes sense immediately, and then you second guess everything, but you always go back to like your first gut reaction. I mean, obviously you have a lot of input from the client with, sure. Some people are completely hands-on, some have a lot of images and things they want to share. So all of that obviously but no, I think it's one of those things I instinctively know.
Okay, so Mark never comes across any problems.
No, you do, but I think the problems you come across is the second guessing it, but you always
or overdoing
your first instinct.
Well, yeah, you've got to. It's the intuitiveness, the logic of the room should speak to you.
Yeah, you just kind of like you see the furniture plan and you kind of like
Do you have a favorite hotel in America?
I do. We live really close to the Sunset Tower, so we spend a lot of time there for having breakfast stuff.
With Jeff Klein.
With Jeff Klein, yeah.
Who he and I share a birthday.
You do? He's great. San Vicente Bungalows. My favorite hotel in New York, and you're going to crack up because it's not what I love the Maritime down in the meatpacking district. I started staying there in my gap years, 20 years ago. And I love, the rooms are cheap, but it's that navy with the wood rooms. Yeah. I love it. And I feel really at home there.
I love your enthusiasm.
Yeah, I feel at home there. So when I'm there in New York, and I think New York is really hard sometimes because there's so much, there's a lot of activity, to go somewhere that you're familiar with. So I would, that's so not fancy. Yeah. It's definitely not the Carlisle or anything like that, but I love the Maritime. And then there's a little hotel in Miami that we love called Casa Tua. You heard of that?
I have heard of that. Why have I heard of that?
They have one in Aspen as well, but it's like they don't have a pool. They're in Miami, they don't even have a pool. But it's just
they're
charming.
That damn good.
Yeah, it's just charming. Everything's slip covered and fabulous. It's great.
I have stayed at the Soho House many times in Miami.
We like it there too, yeah.
as a founding member of New York Soho House, which makes me so excited. Um, and their pillows were so good, and they're made by Soho House London, that I think I ordered something like at a good cost too, like 10, at least 10 pillows from Soho House London, and waited months. And now I'm gonna
The nice thing about that
Southampton.
the beach house, I think it's called, is like you never have to leave it. The pool, the food's delicious. You know, like being there, the Soho House in Miami is really fun. We've stayed there a lot too.
What is the most challenging project you've ever had that you're willing to tell?
Well, there's one I'm not willing to tell. Let me think really quick. Well, they're all different. Oh my God, I really want to I'm trying to really think of one that's been.
You can pass.
Huh?
You can phone a friend.
I think that there's always, these, you learn, I've learned a lot over the years around process. I think that I think we've been able to learn through anything that's gone wrong, how to approach it or do it better. Whether it's, communicating more clearly with the client on every step of the way up front, or whether it's, whatever. I mean, like getting, there's this whole thing with, making sure everything's invoiced, you get the money before you make the purchase or things like that. So you learn to the hard. So I've had some financial things that have been kind of challenging.
Yeah, those are the worst lessons. We've all had those.
Yeah. So there's those, but then I think those are kind of the worst. But there's one that I can't talk about. But
yeah, yeah, nope, didn't happen.
Someday.
What are your current favorite fabric? You understand that, right? No. What are your current favorite fabrics and wallpaper?
Oh my God, we were just talking about it yesterday. I'm sitting here with my team around me. Well, we love Fermoya fabrics. We love
which ones?
Fermoya. They're just those little.
Sure.
I love those. We love Neme. I can't pronounce it. Neme.
Is it? I thought it was Fermoy.
Fermoy.
Is it Fermoya?
No, it's probably Fermoy. No, it's Fermoy. And then there's that Fermoy. Fermoy, my team is doing. And what's the Neme Seme we love? Neme Seme, we love those fabrics. But yesterday I actually asked the team, I was like, what are our favorite fabrics? I love Brunswick Fiends still. Mm-hmm. I love Brocquignier.
And Claremont.
Claremont. And Perry Frey Brocquignier is beyond. We love, Schumacher, of course.
I mean, that was a given.
Yeah. What's that brand right? Oh, that's Neme Seme. I love that. What else did we say? Brunswick's number one. I love Lee Joffa. I love Lee Joffa fabrics.
So everything.
I like sewn fabrics a lot.
Are there stripes in every project?
Yeah, probably in some shape or form. Not always blue, but neutral. I mean, it's so funny. I love blue and white, and we're known for blue and white.
I've heard.
But most of our interiors are not blue and white. It's kind of
of course you can't do blue and white.
The most beautiful room that's ever been designed, I think. I love that blue and white Portuguese tiled breakfast room your dad did for Gayfred.
Which was after Grousset.
Oh, that whole house is unbelievable.
That whole Gayfred
that beautiful,
amazing taste.
All that Amari in the entryway and that a tangerine. I mean, whatever. It is the yellow living with the blue and white.
I, of course, with my love for Sonian interiors, love that tangerine room. And the wicker, and something I want to go back to. We're talking about getting our clients more in the process, making sure they see every invoice. I did, I would work for Ann Bass in these past few years, and I remember her saying to me once, and it really delineated the difference between then and now for me. She's like, I can't deal with all these people who need you to sign off on a lampshade. She's like, I just want a lampshade, or I want a whatever. Just do it. And I was like, that's so cool, because that's how they used to do it. They would just say, here are your lampshades. But it's true, we do now have to say, it's going to be this big, made out of this, da, da, da. And of
Yeah, this
course,
cost, which is the most part, it's
yeah.
going to be this much freight.
She
You know,
wasn't saying
I always
run up the meter, but she
no
was
no.
saying, please don't ask me, as we go forward, don't ask me to sign off on what do I know about the slant of a lampshade? And I was like, done.
She had bigger things to think about that one.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I hope so.
There's a perfect example of like a woman with great style, like her homes, and like that. Your dad's home that he did for her with the red Rothkos and like unbelievable like style.
And then that Monet in the dining room of the Houses of Parliament.
And the home in Fort Worth, or how minimal and simple it was. There was something that I was going to say though that I thought, I can't remember what I was going to say. Something I thought was important. It will come to me.
Okay. I think yes, that as decorators, so here we are talking about people, the homeowners who have the great style. And I think, that the best work a designer does is obviously when you're paired with a person who knows themselves and can tell us what they need us to do for them. Mm-hmm. Because for sure, my father's work for Anne Bass was genius, but she was part of that equation. Mm-hmm. A very significant part of that equation. And Gayfred was very, those are just matches made in heaven.
I just finished a house with that I've been working on for years with Nancy Meyers, the movie.
Oh director. Yeah! Oh my God! Speaking of matches made in heaven.
Yeah, which it's a definitely. And we've known each other for a very long time. We've become like family. But she has a very distinct style. She dictated which dictated everything. But it was that magical mix of like me pushing in ways that, to get it to the place that I'm super proud of. But, I've had those clients where it's, which is, I'm sure, like, they have a vision, they know how they want to live, which is fantastic. And then you have these people who.
And it's also how they got to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting very hot and very shiny. I apologize.
What I was going to say? That it went jump my mind. I often think back about 50, 60 years ago, how people did the design business. I have no idea. Like how you.
Well, the story of Elsie DeWolf was that she would just go around and be like, "Do this," and someone would be trailing after her, writing it down, and then she'd go, and then she'd come back when it was ready.
I know, but then how do you think about like how much we use the internet now and how much we use mail and like how you get images and ideas across? I can't even imagine how they got the client to sign off on anything. And a lot of the time, the homes where there was so much money were in remote areas, like in Ohio or in St. Louis or in Chicago. They weren't in New York, and these people had designers that were coming in. How do people do it? I don't really. I think it's fast.
My father worked in Saudi Arabia in the 70s. I mean, who knows? And I remember him walking around with a pocket full of quarters to make phone calls. I mean, we'd be at an airport and he'd be like,
everything had to be by phone, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they were probably so much more productive. Who knows? It's interesting.
No, not more productive. Just different. But how lucky we are to have this right now. I love being able to talk to you and see your face. And back in the day when we would all say, "Oh, one day they're going to have cameras on phones," we'd be like, "Nonsense." And here we are, and I love it. I used to think I'd hate it.
I think this whole thing that we're living through right now, we talk about this a lot as our team. It's really thank God for technology and thank God for all these ways that we can stay connected and do our work that we wouldn't have been able to do before. And, I FaceTime Portal with my parents like every other night. So I probably talked to my parents and spent more time with my parents than I have in 20 years because it's that connection that you take for granted before because never even thought about FaceTime Portaling with my parents. I would just go see them, every few months or whatever. But, it's in a weird way, all of this, there's going to be good. There's going to be good that comes out of this for sure. Mostly good, I think. It slows everyone down, puts things in perspective.
My mother sent me this article that Graydon Carter had written in Airmail. And in the article, it referenced what he perceived to be likely, which is that we'll get quarantine nostalgia. And I think that's a great point. I mean, for how horrible this is and the devastating loss, we're going to, when we have it behind us in the rearview mirror, there are going to be things like that we yearn for.
Well, there's
I,
also the anxiety level of it happening. The first part of this, the cycle, the
Mhm.
anxiety of when it happens and the unknown and the fear. And there's also becomes that anxiety and fear when you get back, when you have to go back, when you have to kind of be entering
Oh,
the
sure.
world again. It's like
I mean, change sucks, right?
we
Unless
all
it's
love our
separating.
sweatpants and we all love like kind of, this working from home. And there is such a, like
I'm only able to wear sweatpants at this point. I mean, like, yeah.
you look
Maybe I'll just
beautiful.
stay on FaceTime.
But you know what? Like, it's just interesting, and it's like,